Thank you, Jason. Thank you for everyone to invite me. This is a talk about luck versus skill. This is what I do for a living. And think of this talk as the Moneyball of investing. It's a process. It's a process. It's a process. It's about scoring runs, and it's about understanding numbers. So I'm going to start with this experiment. I have the first euro ever minted. It's a silver coin, and I'm going to throw it. That's a tail. 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 One last time. Guess what? It's a tail. And so we have three hypotheses. Number one, I'm really, really good at throwing coins. Number two, I had one chance out of 64 to have 6 tails in a row. I've just been very lucky. And number three, I just made it up and I just told you that it was 6 tails, well, really, it was something else. That's the story of my life. So here we go. We're going to start by something which is less than obvious. On the right-hand side, you have chess. This is the spectrum of skill versus luck. Look at chess. Chess, everyone would agree. If I play 6 times chess against Garry Kasparov, I will lose every single time. Luck has nothing to do with it. Once again, if I go to the casino with Corinne, God forbid, we will lose. We will lose with an expected value of 1. The odds are stacked against me, and I will lose money every single time. This is a game of pure luck. There is a spectrum of activities ranging from luck to skill, and my contention will be that it's not as obvious as it seems. Stock market is a bit better than roulette, but not much better. Football and baseball, which are both interesting statistics, show more skill than luck rather than investment management. Now, what do you want in skill? You want 2 things. You want someone to be persistent, and you want someone to be predictable. And it does make sense. If you bank on someone, you think the person has skill, you want to be able to predict that this person will do well. I will take this example from my beloved Arsenal football team. We lack a forward. We wanted to buy the infamous Luis Suarez. I took this quote from the Daily Mail. Yes, I do read sometimes the Daily Mail. Arsenal to buy Luis Suarez for 40 million sterling. A striker good for 30 goals a season. Picture this. We have data on Luis Suarez. He has played for 4 different teams. He has averaged 10 goals in the Uruguayan Championship with Nacional. He has averaged 10 goals with Groningen, who is a Dutch first division team. He's done much better with Ajax Amsterdam for 4 seasons, averaging 25 goals. And with Liverpool Football Club, he has averaged 20 goals. So the prediction that he can score 30 goals a season with Arsenal has to be a stretch. The case in favor of him scoring 30 goals would be the fantastic Arsenal midfield will give him so many balls that he will score more goals. That's hypothesis number 1. Hypothesis number 2, which in my view is much more likely, is that the whole Liverpool football team played for him, and so the anchoring has to be 20 goals. The chances that he does better than 20 goals are really small. And I think you see people making this mistake again and again and again and taking short time series to make prediction. The world is littered with center forward being transferred and being really poor in new team, most of them playing for Chelsea. Poker. Steve Levitt, John Bates Medal, University of Chicago professor, famous economist. Please do read Freakonomics. He's wrote this paper about poker. Everyone knows how poker works. You have a random number of cards, and you play again and again and again. So he's done this study where you have the World Championship. You have 2,000 players who come to play, and before the championship, you have ranked player, which we can call skill player, and people like you and I who just go and play and hope to make money. And what you see, surprisingly enough, is that the return on equity for the skilled player is 30.5%. That's a very, very high number. And for the one who just don't know what they do, the return is minus 15%. Think of it as a zero-sum game. You have 700 players or so, 720 to be exact, who deliver 30.5% return, and then you have a few thousand who lose 15%. The net number is obviously zero. But what you see is you see that the win-loss ratio for the skilled player is 55-45. And as you're going to see, this is humble pie for me. Humble pie for what I do for a living. I am happy when I am at 52. More skill equal more luck. That's a strange concept. Look at baseball. Why do I like baseball? Not because I can play it. I like it because you have data and you have good data. The standard deviation over time of someone who bats versus 40 years ago has gone down. Why? Because people train better, they are more fit, there's less noise in the data, and pitchers become better at facing great batsmen. And so what you see is you see that the incredible Ted Williams, who had the best ever season at .406, at the time was 4 standard deviation away from the mean in 1941. If he was to achieve the exact same batting average today, he would be 8 standard deviation away from the mean. And you can see it doesn't make a lot of sense when you compare this to people running. Jess Owens, who was a fantastic runner in 1941, had the world record with 10.25, and Usain Bolt in 2009 is at 9.57. In baseball, no one has ever been able to better Ted Williams. So was he skilled or was he lucky? And I think it's difficult to conclude. Theory number one is that players are better, they're more fit, traveling costs are smaller, they don't drink beer after the games, they train, they have video. So everything else being equal, it's much harder to pitch, to bat .406. Theory number two is that the statistical difference, the difference between .406 and 394 is 5 hits, or 1 hits every 32 games. And that's very, very small. And I think people are really, really keen to jump on conclusion, to conclude that he was an outlier. So one of the words of caution is that outliers are not outliers. Sometimes they are just statistical data points. There is one crazy outlier called Donald Bradman, who was a cricketer. And he scored 99.6 runs in international cricket. The second best was 62. No statistical model can explain this guy. He basically batted between 1920 and 1935 in Australia. You can crunch the number everywhere you want. You will not find another guy like this. And there's a lot of data on cricket. There is a lot. And when you look at the next 9 greatest cricketers, they all average between 62 and 53. But there is one person who's managed to do something very similar. And his name is Warren Buffett, the oracle of Omaha. His returns are just out of this world. I've been waiting for 25 years to him to make some bad investment and look silly. And I think I'm going to wait for a very long time. His appreciation has been 981,000% since 1965, or 10 times better than the S&P 500. This is truly exceptional. And intuition tells us that the chances that this guy was lucky is incredibly, incredibly small. If you know how he buys stock, he buys company which traded at a discount to book with good management, where he grew the revenue line and he trusted the management to cut the cost. Once again, to use the Brad Pitt argument, it's a process. You buy again and again and again the same company. And for those of you who have studied financial theory, the 2 factors which make sense over time, one is value, the second is momentum. Now, when you look at the mutual fund industry, when you think of all of you 401k, it's a really, really sad story. There is a paper by Eugene Fama and Ken French which shows that mutual fund managers actually show negative skill, that once you put into account the load and the transaction cost of buying your 401k, the average is below what you would do with an index fund. That's a sad reality for my industry. I give you 3 explanations. Explanation number 1, there is more skill in baseball and poker than in finance, which will make my livelihood not the most uplifting. Number 2, finance has become too competitive. Too many people have gone to finance. There's just so much competition. There are too many people who have wasted their life going into finance. Number 3, which is the self-gratifying comment, is that the mutual fund industry is the little league, and the big league is all in hedge fund, and all the smart people have gone into hedge fund. Which one, we don't really know. But I'm going to show you what we do at work and how we have actually looked at this as a process. The way I want to run my company is to have more data than anyone. Once again, it's a process. It's a process. You look at the number of runs you score. And so what I do is we don't look at the outcome. We look at every single trade our various fund managers have ever put, every single ticket, every single trade. And we figure out how they make investment decisions. And then we try to make them better. And so we have a coaching system where we say, this is how you make decisions. This is the good one. This is the bad one. This is your batting average. This is how you can improve. This is the various factors you need to correct for. You swing too much. You don't swing hard enough. You actually don't take enough risk from time to time. Or when you lose money, you overtrade. But you can look at all these things because you have the data. And what matters, it's not so much the outcome, it's the raw data. And I will show this to you by showing you, number 1, our tech team. Now, I picked the tech team because every one of you knows about Apple and about the destruction of the PC industry and about what we do. But you can see in 2008, 2009, our team had a rolling hit rate roughly around 50%. 50%, all my skill, everything I do, all I can do is manage a 50-50 ratio. That's pathetic. But what is saving me is my win-loss ratio versus winner versus loser is 1.7. So people actually make much more money on winner than they lose on loser. They keep Apple a very long time. They make a lot of money on Apple. And when they get the wrong stock, let's say HP, they actually cut it very fast. And so this ability to look at winner versus loser is the same process. You look at it again and again and again. And when you look at the trace in terms of the return, you see at time 0, the stock hasn't done that much before. And then the excess return versus benchmark for a trade over 50 days is around 5%. The thing to improve is the exit, so when people actually cut the position. On the winner, you can see that they exit a bit too early, and there is still some money to be made after the exit. And on the stock which don't do well, so they fall down and you can see that there's a negative return, they actually wait too long in terms of exiting the position. And these 2 behavioral traits are actually things that you want people to improve. And so once again, what the lab does is it look at all of this data, and it becomes more complicated, but you actually look at how people make decisions. You sit down with them and you coach them again and again and again. And you coach them against factor, you coach them against risk, and you make sure the batting average becomes better. Thank you.